everyone, welcome to another episode of Jumpstart Your Creativity with Justine for My Favorite Things. Today I'm going to be combining two stamp sets here, the Fall Friends and Sending Blessings. Now when combining stamps, especially for scene stamps, I like to work with stamps that are created by the same artist. So these ones here, the Birdie Brown stamps, are going to be perfect because the lines have a similar thickness and it's just an overall same theme as well as the same type of characters and things like that. So I'm going to be creating a masked off scene today. I've cut myself a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 cardstock, Neenah Solar White, and I'm going to get started. So what's important when you're doing a masked scene is to kind of think about how your stamps are going to be on the page. Anything that is going to be in front of an image. So for example, if you have a person standing in front of a tree, you stamp the thing that is in the foreground first, which would be the person. You're going to cover up the person, then stamp the tree over top, remove the cover, and then the person will be standing in front of the tree. You can make this as complex or as simple as you like. As simple as a flower and a leaf. Stamp the flower, mask it off, cover it up, and then stamp your leaf behind it so that it shows that the leaf is behind the flower or underneath it. Now I'm going to be creating a fairly complex scene for today, and I'm going to be using some of the characters from this Fall Friends as well as the Sending Blessings stamp set. So I've gone ahead and stamped the little character here using the Extreme Black ink from My Favorite Things. I'm using Extreme Black because I'm not sure if I'm going to be Copic coloring when I'm finished. I'm just going to see how the card turns out. Now when you're finished stamping your image on your card, you're going to go ahead and stamp it a second time onto some masking paper. Then you're going to cut it out. So what's important to know here is that using your coordinating dies to cut these out isn't going to work because the coordinating dies have a white frame around them. So fussy cutting is important. What I like to do when I'm fussy cutting is I go ahead and cut on the black line or just inside of the black line. This ensures that I'm going to get a perfectly masked area without any spaces between the object in the foreground and the background. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the mask. I love Ink-A-Dig-A-Doo masking paper because it has this blue background so you know which one is the back and which one is the front. And so you just need to peel off the back layer and it's almost like a post-it note, which by the way you can also use to do this technique. And then I'm going to cover up the area. It's going to stick completely on top and it's going to be perfect for when I'm using my Distress Blending tool to go over top of it, whereas a post-it note could easily get out of place. So now I'm going to go ahead and just keep adding images to my background. Remember, each thing that is going to be in the foreground is going to be stamped first, all the way to the thing in the very back of the image. So I'm stamping the second person here because I wanted my first character that I stamp, her hand, to be on top of the pumpkin. It's a very slight mask, and this one wasn't necessarily entirely necessary to mask one on top of the other, but I thought it would be fun. Next up, I'm going to stamp these two adorable little squirrels, and I wanted to have them standing in front of a log. So once again, I went ahead and added my masking paper over top after I finished fussy cutting, and now I'm going to add the log behind them so that I'm able to stamp the log so that they're standing in front of the log. I hope all of this makes sense. Another way, if you're a little unsure or if you're a beginner, you may want to lay out all of your stamps on your scene, take a picture with your phone, and then so that you can remember which ones are sitting on top of each other and which ones are behind each other. That was a trick I learned from Jennifer McGuire when I first started masking. Now it's just become kind of second nature because I've done it so often, so I don't really have to think too much about things. Next up, I'm stamping the tree. This one's from the Sending Blessings stamp set, so that small stamp set. And I wanted to have a couple of trees because I really wanted to accentuate that fall look. I'm now going to add some leaves from that stamp set to show that there are leaves falling because of the season. Now don't forget that afterwards you're going to have to add things like grass and clouds and things like that if you would like it to seem realistic. I wanted to keep everything in a very nice fall look. So now that I have everything masked off, absolutely everything here has its own cover and mask, I'm going to start adding some color. Now unfortunately, my camera had gone off and I didn't realize it, so the coloring is already done. However, I'm going to go in with a second layer here so you can see what I did. So I started off by adding the top layer, which is a carved pumpkin. And when you're going over very thinly masked areas like that leaf, for example, it's a good idea to use not a ton of pressure. So I went in with Fossilized Amber, and then I went in with some squeezed lemonade. I really wanted to make it a fall look, so I thought it was important to add some yellows and oranges to the sky. I then went in with this grass stencil, and I used Vintage Photo to do the grass. Now, since the grass was in the foreground, I probably should have taken the mask off and then did the background, or then did the grass, but overall I still like the way that it turned out. So when I take off all of the masked areas, I have this beautiful scene that is just simply in white. If you happen to cut a little bit too close into the black line, some of your lines may look a little bit chalky because of the Distress Oxide ink. Don't forget that you could always go in with a black pen after, and you can go ahead and reinforce those lines. Overall, I love how this scene turned out. Now, of course, you could go ahead and color this scene as well. But I kind of liked it just as this really stunning white, so I left it as is. And if I were giving this card, for example, to a child, I could also add some crayons into the envelope, or they could color it themselves. I think that creating a really colorful background and then leaving things white really just makes things pop. But that's just my style, and it's completely up to you. You can go ahead and color with your favorite medium as much as you like. So I hope you enjoyed learning a thing or two about masking, and I hope it was clear as to why I placed everything where. This wasn't an incredibly difficult mask scene. The most that was ever masked one behind the other were 3 things, and that was the squirrel, the log behind it, and the tree behind that. Everything else was pretty straightforward. I'm now going to go ahead and add my sentiment, and this is from the same stamp set that I used to stamp the characters, the Fall Friends. So I'm going ahead and stamping that in the same ink that I used for stamping the characters. So now I have this really fun fall-themed card that says it's the perfect time to tell you how thankful I am for you. I hope you enjoyed this month's card tutorial, and you'll give masking and scene building a try. Maybe even leaving characters white or coloring them. I'd love to see what you create. If you're interested in checking out some more videos, we have some suggestions here below, or if you'd like to subscribe to the My Favorite Things channel, you can go ahead and do that now. I'll see you in October for another video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.